Welcome to my channel. Subscribe, listen, and enjoy my stories every day. The late spring air holds a promise of summer as we drive up the narrow path that snakes through the dense forest. Beside me in the passenger seat, Clara fidgets with the hem of her light blue cardigan, a small smile playing at the corners of her lips. I can't help but watch her, the sunlight filtering through the trees, casting shadows that dance across her face. "We're almost there, aren't we?" Clara asks, her voice tinged with a mix of excitement and something else, perhaps anxiety. "Yeah, just around the bend," I reply, focusing back on the road. In the rearview mirror, I catch a glimpse of Jake and Liz, our friends, laughing in the back seat. Their easy camaraderie has always been a cushion in our sometimes tense relationship. We reach the clearing and start unloading our gear. The campsite is secluded, surrounded by towering pines and the occasional rustle of wildlife in the underbrush. The air smells of pine and fresh earth, a natural balm that I hope will soothe the subtle strains in our marriage. As we set up the tents, Clara and Liz chat about a new restaurant in town, while Jake helps me with the heavier items. "You've been quiet, man. Everything okay?" Jake asks, handing me a stack of firewood. "Just tired, I guess," I say, shrugging off my unease as nothing more than work stress. But Jake eyes me knowingly, a silent acknowledgement of the unspoken troubles between Clara and me. By the time the tents are up and the fire is crackling, the sun begins to dip below the horizon, painting the sky in shades of orange and purple. We gather around the fire, the flickering light casting ghostly shadows on our faces. Liz hands out cups of steaming tea, and the warmth is comforting against the chill that creeps in with the darkness. "The stars are going to be amazing tonight," Liz remarks, her gaze upward. "No city lights to ruin the view." I sip my tea, the warmth spreading through my body. A wave of drowsiness washes over me, much stronger than I anticipate. "What did you guys put in my tea?" "Sleeping pills." I joke, but there's an edge to my voice that I hadn't intended. "Only the best for you, buddy," Jake chuckles, raising his cup in a mock toast. Clara doesn't say much, her eyes flitting around the group, restless or perhaps reflective. I try to laugh off my joke and the uneasy silence that follows, but as the night deepens, so does my sleepiness. "I think I'm going to turn in early," I mumble, struggling to keep my eyes open. "You okay?" Clara's voice is laced with concern, but I can't discern if it's genuine or rehearsed. "Yeah, just tired," I repeat, my voice slurred by the heaviness pulling at my consciousness. I stagger to our tent, the sounds of the forest blending into a distant lullaby that guides me into darkness. I don't know how long I sleep, but when I wake, the world is shrouded in the soft, uncertain light of the moon filtering through the tent fabric. Confusion grips me as I register sounds, the low, unmistakable moan of pleasure, a sound painfully familiar. Driven by a force I can't resist, I unzip the tent, stepping out into the cool night. My heart thumps painfully against my ribs as I move towards the source of the sounds, each step heavier than the last. And then I see them, shadows intertwined in a grotesque ballet of betrayal. Clara, naked and unashamed, sitting on Jake's face, their bodies slick with sweat in the moonlight. The sight strikes me like a physical blow, and I stand frozen, the bitter taste of betrayal filling my mouth. They don't notice me at first, lost in their deceitful ecstasy. When they do, the shock is palpable, their expressions morphing from pleasure to horror. Clara scrambles up, her voice a mix of apologies and excuses. But I don't hear her. The words dissolve into the night air, meaningless and void. In that moment, the path forward is clear. Betrayed and broken, I vow to dismantle the lives of those who've wronged me. As the first light of dawn begins to edge the sky, I start planning my retribution. This is only the beginning. As dawn breaks over the campsite, the crisp morning air does nothing to ease the heaviness in my chest. I watch from a distance as Clara and Jake, now dressed, speak in hushed, urgent tones by the extinguished fire. Their words are indistinct, but the tension between them is palpable. I turn away, unable to stomach the sight. Liz approaches me tentatively, her eyes wide with a mix of sympathy and fear. Are you okay? I can't even imagine. Save it, Liz, I cut her off sharply. My voice is colder than I intend, but I can't muster the warmth. I need some air. Leaving the campsite behind, I trek deeper into the woods. The trees stand silent, their tall forms like sentinels around me. I walk until the camp, and the betrayal it harbors is nothing but a distant echo. My mind races, plotting, planning. Vengeance is a path laid out clearly before me now, and I am compelled to follow it. After several hours, I return to find 2 police officers at the campsite. Clara's cousin, Ryan, a local officer, is speaking to her. His partner, a stern-looking woman named Officer Martinez, notices me first. Mr. Harris, she calls out, her tone formal. Yes, I reply, stepping forward. My heart beats a steady rhythm of dread and resolve. We were informed there might be some trouble here, Officer Martinez continues. Would you mind telling us what happened? I glance at Clara, her eyes pleading. Jake stands behind her, his gaze fixed on the ground. There was a misunderstanding, I start, my voice steady despite the turmoil inside. A misunderstanding that involves potential drugging. Ryan interjects, his voice tinged with a professional sternness that doesn't quite mask his personal investment. I nod, unwilling to divulge the full extent of their betrayal to the police, not yet. Yes, but I think it's best we handle it privately. Ryan looks at me, skeptical. We need to ensure everyone's safety, first and foremost. I assure you, officer, everyone here is safe, I say, locking eyes with Clara. She knows the weight of my words, the promise of retribution unspoken but clear. The officers confer quietly before deciding no immediate legal action is necessary. They leave with a warning about keeping the peace, their departure leaving a heavy silence in their wake. With the officers gone, Clara approaches me, her voice tremulous. Can we talk? Please. There's nothing to talk about, I say coldly. You and Jake, you made your choice last night. It's not what you think, Clara begins, but I raise my hand to stop her. Save it. I'm leaving. This marriage, it's over. I start packing my things, my movements brisk and final. Jake steps forward, his expression one of remorse. I'm sorry, man. It was wrong, and I don't need your apologies, I snap, the words sharp and unforgiving. Just stay away from me. I finish packing and look around at the scattered remnants of what I had believed was a life with friends and a faithful wife. With my backpack slung over my shoulder, I leave the campsite without a backward glance, each step away hardening my resolve. The betrayal will not go unanswered. I have plans for them, plans that extend far beyond this forest and this day. As I walk, the seeds of my revenge take root, promising a reckoning that will shatter their lives as surely as they have shattered mine. As I step onto the road, my phone buzzes. It's an old friend, Mark, someone I haven't spoken to in years, but whose expertise in legal matters might just be what I need to start my crusade. Mark, I need a favor, I begin, the wheels of vengeance beginning to turn. This is only the beginning, and no one betrays me without paying a steep price. The sharp beep of my phone snaps me back to reality as I navigate the crowded streets of the city. I'm meeting Mark at a small cafe tucked away on a side street, a place where conversations can remain private. As I push open the door, the aroma of freshly brewed coffee mingles with the muted hum of afternoon chatter. Mark is already there, seated at a corner table with 2 coffees waiting. Michael, he greets, standing to shake my hand, his expression a mask of concern and curiosity. You sounded serious on the phone. What's going on? I sit, taking a cautious sip of the bitter coffee, letting the warmth settle me before I begin. It's Clara. There's been an affair with a supposed friend. I found them together during a camping trip. Mark's brow furrows, his professional demeanor taking over. I'm sorry to hear that, Michael. How can I help? I need to know what my options are, legally. Not just for divorce, but I want to make sure they feel the repercussions of their actions. Mark nods, pulling out a notepad. Okay, let's start with the basics: evidence, witnesses, anything that can support your case. Affairs are tricky, but with the right approach, you can secure a favorable outcome. I lean in, lowering my voice. There's more, Mark. I think they drugged me that night. I was unusually drowsy, couldn't keep my eyes open. That's serious, Mark says sharply. Do you have any proof? Just my own experience, I admit, frustration lacing my words. But I want to dig deeper. Maybe hire a private investigator. Good idea, Mark agrees. Gathering solid evidence is key. A PI can help with that. Also, consider any financial misconduct between Clara and your friend. Anything that adds weight to their betrayal. I nod, processing his advice. What about public exposure? Mark hesitates, then replies, it's a double-edged sword, Michael. It could pressure them, sure, but it could backfire on you too. Defamation is a serious charge. We need to tread carefully. I sigh, a mix of determination and exhaustion weaving through me. I understand. Let's start with the private investigator. Can you recommend someone? I can, and I will. Someone discreet and thorough, Mark assures me, scribbling down a contact number. I'll also draft some initial divorce papers and start looking into any joint financial assets. As we wrap up, Mark places a reassuring hand on my shoulder. We'll handle this the right way, Michael. They won't see it coming. I leave the cafe with a renewed sense of purpose. The next step is clear as I dial the number Mark gave me. The phone rings twice before a gruff voice answers. Hello? Hi, I was referred by Mark Thompson. I need some investigative services. Sure, what's the nature of the investigation? It's personal. Infidelity, possible drugging, and I suspect financial betrayal. We can help with that. Let's set up a meeting to discuss the details. Thank you. I'll be there first thing tomorrow. The call ends, and I feel the first real spark of control since the betrayal. As I head back to my car, the city around me buzzes with the oblivious pace of daily life, unaware of the storm brewing just beneath its surface. Tonight, I plot. Tomorrow, I act. The threads of conspiracy I weave will not only unravel Clara and Jake's lives but will also bind them in a web of their own making. They will regret the day they chose to betray me. The steady rain outside mirrors the turmoil swirling inside the dimly lit private investigator's office. The walls, lined with photos of surveilled suspects and marked maps, feel oppressive as I sit across from Jim, the investigator Mark recommended. I've completed the preliminary investigation, Jim begins, his voice even, eyes fixed on mine. He slides a folder across the desk. Inside, photos and documents lay bare the deceit, Clara and Jake captured in clandestine meetings, their financial transactions highlighted alongside. What did you find about the finances? I ask, my voice steady despite the storm inside. They were planning to start a business together. Looks like your funds were involved, Jim says delicately. The betrayal stings anew, but I keep my composure, my mind racing with the implications. And the night of the camping? Any luck figuring out if they drugged me? Jim nods, passing over a lab report. We found traces of sedatives in a tea bag recovered from the campsite. It's conclusive, Michael. The evidence in my hands feels both vindicating and heartbreaking. Armed with this, I'm no longer just a jilted husband, I'm a man with a mission. Thank you, Jim. I'll take it from here. With each step out of the office, my resolve hardens. By the time I reach Clara's place, the rain has stopped, but the chill in the air matches my mood. The door opens before I even knock, Clara standing there, pale and apprehensive. Michael, what are you? I know everything, I cut her off, holding up the folder. The business, the money, the drugs. It's all here. Clara's eyes widen, her body swaying as if struck. Michael, please, let me explain. There's nothing to explain. My voice is sharp, slicing through the quiet street. I trusted you, and you betrayed me. With my friend. Behind me, a car door shuts. Jake steps out, his face gaunt, eyes filled with something akin to regret. Mike, I'm sorry. We never meant for it to go this far. Ignoring him, I focus on Clara. We're done. I'll see you in court. As I turn to leave, Clara grabs my arm, desperation coloring her tone. Wait. There's something you don't know. Please. I pause, curiosity piqued despite my anger. It was all a setup, Clara blurts out, tears streaming down her face. Not the affair, that was real. But the business, the drugs. Jake and I were manipulated. By who? My confusion grows, my grip on the folder tightening. By Liz, Clara says, the name dropping like a bomb. She found out about us and threatened to expose everything unless we went along with her plans. The revelation stuns me into silence. Liz, the quiet observer, the supposed friend caught in our marital strife, manipulating the threads. Why should I believe you? I ask, skepticism lacing my tone. Clara reaches into her pocket, pulling out her phone. She shows me messages, texts from Liz, threatening, coercive. It's all there in black and white, a stark testament to the depths of her betrayal. The complexity of the deceit is overwhelming. The anger I felt, so righteous and directed, now splinters into confusion and disillusionment. I'm sorry you had to find out this way, Jake adds, his voice low. We wanted to tell you, to warn you about Liz. With a heavy heart, I back away, the documents clutched in my hand feeling less like a weapon and more like a burden. I need time, I managed to say before turning away, leaving Clara and Jake behind, the shattered pieces of our lives too sharp to pick up. As I drive away, the finality of the moment settles in. The deceit had layers I hadn't anticipated, and while the affair was real, the additional betrayals were fabricated, manipulated by someone I had never suspected. The hatred for cheating remains, a bitter echo in the otherwise empty car. And as the city lights blur past, I realize the deception wasn't just in their infidelity. It was in the trust one placed in all of them. Forever marked by this, I part ways with a past too tainted to reclaim and a future uncertain but finally, truly my own.